Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, we're going to talk about sex crimes today. It seems like to me, everywhere you go, people are talking about human trafficking. I find that somewhat interesting because I started in talking about human trafficking in 2008. I actually started out of Cambodia, and my church had a mission in Cambodia. People say, how'd you get involved? I'm like, I volunteered. I was an artist, a glass artist. I was retired, and I said, okay, I'm going to go to Cambodia, and you have to pay your own way. So I sell my artwork, and off I go, and I got involved in human trafficking in Cambodia. In 2010, I met Deputy Aaron Wolf, who is now Investigator Aaron Wolf, and still with the task force, but out in the Coachella Valley area. And he asked me to be the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. Well, what a journey it has been, folks. I never could have guessed. You know, I'm kind of a plain, down-to-earth kind of person. He told me, he said, I can't pay you. You know, you have to raise all your own money, pay all your own way. And I'm like, oh, man, this is my kind of retirement. And I sat at my kitchen table, and I'm about to do that again. I've been doing that for 12 years, 10 years. And I began to research what this is all about. And, you know, with a background in Cambodia, that didn't really have anything to do with what's going on here in the U.S. And I began to look at it, especially out in Coachella, because I was pretty sure that it was all about foreign nationals, whether or not you're documented or undocumented and like that. And there is some truth to that. And I spent about 2 years doing that, researching it and supplying Aaron with a lot of information as we began to research it. And I began to write articles. And I'm really, really grateful to this day for all those people back in 2010 that gave me a break. One of them was Jackie Carey Wilson over at the Bar Association, over at the people that do the Riverside Lawyer magazine. And we trained early on, trained all the judges and the attorneys. And Les Whitaker was my neighbor. Les is struggling with cancer today, and he just lost his wife. And she was a good friend of mine, Susan Whitaker, and I will miss her dearly. But they came alongside of me back in 2010, 2012, because nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. And you're like, really? Are you serious? And I'd write these articles and I'd get these chances to talk, and I'd put them in the press enterprise, and people would, churches would host me. And Pastor Gary Decker, who actually started Million Kids, for what it's worth, he would host over at his church, and people would come and we would talk about it. And then what happened is in 2012, we had a case took place in a Riverside County school, one of our finest schools, and a beautiful young lady became a victim of trafficking. And just an incredible human being that girl was. She was only 15, and she met another girl. And that is when we learned that gangs use their gang girls and place them in high schools to recruit other girls and then sell them into gangs to be sold out for forced prostitution. And now it has grown and grown and grown. I believe there are as many as 250 companies in Southern California combating human trafficking, all of them trying to raise money, by the way, and most of them much more successful at it than I am. I am not a victim service provider. I am a law enforcement trainer. I have become post-certified. That's Peace Officer Standardized Training Certified, so that I can train first responders across the nation. You know, code enforcement, fire departments, police departments, school resource officers, social workers, therapists, corporations, and like that. And the subject matter has grown immensely. And now there's a huge amount of visibility out there. There's a lot of people out there talking about it. And some of them are more accurate than others. And they use a lot of different terminology. And so I want to use this show today to kind of ferret out for you how it all works, okay? To kind of educate you so you will be knowledgeable on these terminologies. And so we're going to talk about it in general first. We're going to cover human trafficking, adult sex trafficking, child trafficking, the difference between prostitution, pimping, and pandering, gang trafficking, some foreign national trafficking, social media exploitation, sextortion, and child pornography. So we're going to cover all of that in the next hour. I'm use this to use that as an education tool for you, because technically there's quite a bit of overlap, but quite a bit of difference. And I think it's helpful if you know. Under the terminology human trafficking, it can be either labor or sex trafficking. Now, it can be other kinds of trafficking, but for the most part, that's the two biggies. Labor trafficking is labor exploitation. That is different than just being in a labor complaint with your boss, okay? Although it may end up being that you are trafficked. But what you will often find in labor trafficking is it's involved foreign nationals. Some of them came in legally with their documents, and maybe they came in on student visas or work visas. And then when they get here, they find out the job is not what they promised. Some come in as unaccompanied minors, and some come in illegally without documentation. And there's all kinds of labor trafficking, and it does not get the the credibility, the visibility that it needs. It can be things like working out in the agriculture business out in Coachella, or maybe out in Anza and Sage, where you're bringing in a lot of people from Laos that are out there growing your illegal pot grows, or maybe even doing your legal pot grows. They can be working in warehouses. They can be working in care homes. They can be working in bakeries or restaurants, Chinese buffets, sometimes not all of them. There are some very fine Chinese buffets, but Chinese buffets will often hire crews of people that work morning and night. When it becomes trafficking is they're not paid at least the minimum wage. Often they will hold these people's documentation. Many of these people paid money in their own homeland to come here and get one of those jobs, thinking they're going to make $30,000 or $50,000. And when they get here, they find out that by the end of the month, they're getting less than $60 because they're being charged for board and room. And maybe they're working 20 hours a week and being forced to sleep on the floor. And they often withhold food and withhold their documentation. That is labor trafficking. If you know of anybody that is being labor trafficked, you can either write to HT, that stands for human trafficking, HT at riversidesheriff.org, HT at riversidesheriff.org, or you can call anonymously. I can't say that word. We work on that word, but I'm not good at it. Anyway, it's 1-888-3737-888. 1-888-3737-888, and report labor trafficking or sex trafficking. Now, the next segment, I'm going to go into adult sex trafficking and child sex trafficking, called CSEC. And we're also going to try to get to the subject of prostitution, pimping, and pandering, because the bulk of the trafficking that we see in Riverside and San Bernardino County is sex trafficking. Riverside County is extremely fortunate to have a federally funded task force. We actually have two of them now, one in the west here in Riverside Central and one east out by Coachella and Palm Desert. San Bernardino County has a human trafficking task force. And if you call that hotline that I gave you, they will get the leads if it's taking place in San Bernardino County. That is ran by escapes me right now, but it'll come to me in a minute. Sergeant O'Brien. And And so and Captain Mahoney over there in San Bernardino, excellent people. Some great police departments are combating this. Hemet, Temecula, Fontana, Beaumont, Victorville, Apple Valley. Some great police departments dedicated to combating human trafficking, as well as San Bernardino and Riverside police departments. Oh, I don't want to forget Corona and Eastvale. So with that, we're going to go into sex trafficking in the next segment. I'm going to ask you to stay with us, and we'll be right back. My name is Opal Singleton. My organization is Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. If you want to donate, just go to millionkids.org and hit that donate button. We'll be right back.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you, you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. This show is brought to you by Million Kids. Million Kids is a small but mighty local organization. If you want to support human trafficking locally, please go to millionkids.org. We so much appreciate you. Some businesses that help us out, but a lot of individuals whose kids or grandkids have been violated, and we've helped them. What do we do to combat this before we get into all of it? Well, I sit with parents who are missing their kids. We operate Million Kids Missing Kids. In fact, we're looking for more sponsors. That thing is getting so big and growing. If you want to sponsor Million Kids Kids Missing Kids, write to me at opal@millionkids.org, and we'll put your name on those flyers. You see, what happens is 1 out of 6 kids who run away will be a victim of sex trafficking, meaning they're either being sexually violated or into forced prostitution within the first 48 hours. And the parents are out of their mind. They go to the police department. The kid is missing. Where are they? Are they at, in Las Vegas? Are they in Los Angeles? Are they in Tijuana? Are they in prostitution? Are they being violated? Will they ever see their child again? A Million Kids Missing Kids, if you contact the police department and then contact us, we will have you complete a form with all the information. We have to have a police report number because we generate tens and tens and tens of thousands of flyers that we send out all across Southern California to help those parents find that child and rescue that child before they get violated. And if you want to be a team captain at your church or corporation to make sure that your entire church or your entire corporation receive those flyers, call me or write to me at opal, OPAL, @millionkids.org, and we will get you set up. In the meantime, go to millionkids.org and sign up for the newsletter, and you too will receive those flyers as well as notification of all the local cases. Just go to millionkids.org. While you're at it, you may, if you're a Facebook fan, go to Facebook and plug in Million Kids and hit like and join us so that you can share all of this throughout your Facebook group. It is our desire to create 100,000 person network so that when that child goes missing, we can push a button and get that flyer out to 100,000 people in the first 24 hours. It is to create leads to send to the police department. You will see that flyer. So what are we talking about between adult sex trafficking and child sex trafficking? Well, California has a law, and these laws have changed recently that's going to make this infinitely more difficult. You think our lives are tough. I'm dying over here, folks. I've been in this business 12 years. I have never seen such a difficult time in our lives. On March 12th, we made our last live presentation because of COVID. Now, I've made a lot of Zoom presentations, but I am hungry to give somebody a hug and see people in person. These are hard times to do Zooms, but that means we don't get to make live presentations and sell our books. If you want to get educated on sex trafficking, and then go to millionkids.org and order our 2 books, and you will get smarter than you were. So I also need your help because the laws are changing. We sit with these parents and we sit with kids. And we help them through the anguish if they're being blackmailed by a naked photo, which will often lead to sex trafficking, or their parent is looking for them, or their parent is anguished because their child has sent a naked photo and they have 1,000 people trying to get money out of them and their lives become miserable. What's the difference? Well, our California has a law. It's a CSEC law, CSEC, CSEC, stands for Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children. That law says that if you're under the age of 18 and you're engaging in commercial sex, that's a fancy word for prostitution, okay? It does not matter that you're 14 years old and you think you're hot and you're making amateur videos and you're sending them out on Snapchat, collecting Snapcash so you can buy some selfies, and you're making amateur pornography, or you're meeting up with guys having sex for money because after all, you're having sex anyway. Why not make some money on it? That's a favorite line of every pimp I've ever met. Anyway, that is, if you're under 18 and you're having sex for money, you are a victim of human trafficking. I don't care if you're doing it willingly. Our law says that you're a victim of human trafficking. Now, this just got a whole lot tackier and much more difficult because last week, our legislators and our Congress, you're so caught up in all this other stuff that's going on. I bet you don't even know about this. SB 145 and AB 1145 changed the mandated reporting and also the sexual abuse and sex offender laws. There's another one, I think it's SB 384, if I've got that right. It basically says if you're 14 and over and you're having sex with someone who's within 10 years of your age and you say it's consensual, that it is that person 10 years older does not have to register as a sex offender unless a judge says so. Well, we have a whole lot of liberal judges that are more than willing to go along with it. Now, I get the complications of all this. I don't disagree. If you have teenagers that are 17 and 16 and they're having sex, that the 17-year-old boyfriend probably should not be a sex offender. I get it. But here's the problem that nobody addressed with that. Most of our victims are 14, 15, 16-year-old girls who go online. 83% of sex trafficking victims are female. They go online at these dating sites. They hook up with some gorgeous fall in love gang member. And the next thing you know, they are being gang raped, gang sodomized, and put out across their gang to have sex for money, which they themselves cannot stop. Now they get totally drugged. They get absolutely brainwashed. They're controlled by drugs. They're controlled by guns, and they're controlled by threats. If you ever hear a kid like that say, hey, I have to do this or they're going to hurt my family, you better believe them. And so what happens with us? She's 15 years old. We can see she's been beat up. We can see that her boyfriend is a pimp. Okay. And she's 15 and he's 23 and he's putting her out there on the website, setting her up in motels, moving her from town to town to town. She doesn't know what town she's in and she doesn't know what name she's being sold on. Her pictures are taken. They're put out on the clear web out there on those sex sites. And the next thing you know, she gets beat up and somebody calls the police. But now, thanks to SB 145, we come out and she goes, oh, no, he's my boyfriend. And we're going, honey, he's beat you up. It was my fault. I did it. He's my boyfriend. And so therefore, this is going to get infinitely more difficult. Our state law says that if you're under 18 and you're engaged in commercial sex, and I don't care if you're a sex buyer and you say, well, she looked like she was 18. She looked like she was 19. How could I know she was only 15? You are going to find out that ignorance is not a defense for you. In fact, we are running more reverse stings than ever before. So you better think twice before you start responding to one of those sex ads, because prostitution is still illegal in the state of California. It still is. Now, I'll admit that the porn industry is spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to legalize it so that it isn't illegal. But right now it is illegal. And if you go out and do sex buying, you're going to have your photo taken. It's going to be on Facebook pages all across California, and you are going to pay a fine and you will be taken to jail. So you need to know that this is serious business, and that they're giving him a story that how can I know that she's only 15 is not going to get it for you. So what happens if you're over 18 and you're in commercial sex? Are you an independent sex provider? Or are you a victim of human trafficking? We're going to get deep into that subject in the next section. But I want you to think about this a minute. Is that okay? Is prostitution, should it be legal? I'm going to give you my opinion, and I'm sure that you are not going to be surprised. But I do not believe that legalizing prostitution is going to help make those girls' lives any better, because pimping is not about sex. It's about mind control. It's about power. And just because it's legalized is not going to make pimps Boy Scouts. My name is Opal Singleton, and this show is brought to you by Million Kids, millionkids.org. No, we're not 1 million, not a million, just millionkids.org. If you want to support our work, please go to millionkids.org and hit that donate button. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. I am the host of this show. I'm also the president and CEO of Million Kids, and we serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. I report over there to Sergeant John Sawyer, and I just think the world of that task force. They've been in business now nearly 10 years, and they have, every time I hear this thing about defunding police, I just cringe. You have no idea what it takes to make sex crimes stick in court and get the people prosecuted. And yet these are some of the most horrific crimes in your community. And if it's your daughter or granddaughter, you're wanting justice. And sometimes it takes 40, 50,000 hours to prosecute and investigate some of these cases. So I want to talk about adult sex trafficking. If you're over 18 and you decide that you want to sell your body or make commercial pornography, webcam sex, which is how it's going out there, then you can do that even though it's against the law. You will get arrested because it's against the law, but you can do that. You are not a victim of sex trafficking unless if you have a pimp, if you have an agent, if you have a madam, if you have a representative, if you have a Jeffrey Epstein that's out there making money off your work or coercing you, saying that if you don't make $800 tonight, and that is the average in Riverside County, $800 a night every night, or you don't get to eat. If you don't make that much money, then you're not going to get to eat. Or if you don't make that much money, I'm going to beat you. Or if you don't do this, I am going to hurt your family on the other side of the border or your family back home. That's called coercion. Force, fraud, fear, and coercion. What's fraud? You want to be a model. You want to be a makeup artist. You want to just dance on a pole and nobody's ever going to touch you. You want to pick up $500 tonight and nobody will ever hurt you. What is force? You're not free to go. They will beat you. They will rape you. They will film you. They will put you out on the World Wide Web. They will put you in a motel, say out in Moreno Valley or Hemet or maybe Temecula. Then they'll move you over to San Bernardino. This is why we all work together, by the way. From there, you'll go over to Holt Boulevard. And yes, they're working Holt Boulevard with the police, by the way. You should know that. And then you'll go over to El Monte and Garden Grove and Los Angeles and Long Beach and going down to San Diego. You will be locked in hotel rooms and you'll be advertised on the internet and you get new dates all the time and you won't know what town you're in and you won't know what name you're being sold under. That is when it becomes adult trafficking. If you're over 18, it may start out looking like a boyfriend. It may start up looking like a business arrangement. You started out doing this yourself, and then they say, hey, I can help you advertise. You can charge more money. Or it can start out as a family member putting you out there in there. That happens in Riverside County. So you find yourself in prostitution. Commercial prostitution is illegal, and you can be arrested for it. Now, I'm going to tell you that many of the women are out there are victims. And our task force and the San Bernardino task force does everything they can to make adult women who are in prostitution into sex trafficking victims. If they will cooperate, we can get them all kinds of services. There are many safe houses now in our area. Operation Safe House, Safe House of the Desert, Open Door, a case represents safe houses. Children Fund reaches out to the community out there. Mama's House out in the desert. CASA over in Hemet. Rebirth Homes, Run to Rescue. We can get services for you the same as domestic violence services. So what is pimping and pandering? Pandering is making money off somebody having commercial sex, and pimping is the recruiting of somebody to get them in there to basically seduce and exploit and get them into trafficking. And you can get some very long sentences for this. Sometimes it looks like a boyfriend, and then it goes south, and other times they're just nasty, nasty people. Did you know that you can start with one pimp and get traded to others? And you can have more than one pimp. Your life is tough if that happens. And we get teenagers all the time that fall in love on a dating site with some gang member. And the next thing you know, she's dating him, but he trades her off. And pretty soon she belongs to the gang, and that gang trades her. And then that gang trades her, and that gang trades her. And you say to yourself, how did this beautiful little 15-year-old girl end up with this nasty guy? And he's 44. She didn't start out that way. She fell in love with a great-looking guy on one of those dating sites, and he was the bait, and off they go. So while I'm talking about it, we've been talking about gang trafficking. 90% of the cases in Riverside County are gang-related. And literally, gangs make more money selling kids and selling people than they do selling drugs. Now, they're making more money selling guns still, but not as much as selling drugs. Because if you sell drugs, every time you sell some, you got to go get more. But quite frankly, every time you sell people, all you have to do is get them to do that more than one time a night. The average time a night is 8 times a night, just in case you're thinking of going out there and think that person's really going to be in love with you. That is how it works, okay? Foreign national trafficking, we have a lot of it. I talked about it. I did a whole show on it. We are finding all kinds, especially of Chinese sex trafficking rings operating here. It's all about money laundering. Thailand, sex trafficking rings, these Thai massage things, going to these massage parlors that you know are illicit. When a massage parlor stays open till 11 or 12 o'clock at night, you're not getting a massage. And that is how it works. And trust me, they get filmed. Sometimes you get filmed in the act of it all. And those films go out on pornography rings. And those girls are brought in, often legally, and they're moved from place to place, and they're horribly, horribly violated. We had one Chinese sex trafficking ring operating out of San Gabriel that was out here in the Inland Empire. There were 5 people. They were making so much money. They had 50 bank accounts. Let me say that again so you don't pass it up. 50 bank accounts in 9 different banks. They are buying and selling real estate to launder all that money. It is so big that when you, the sex buyer, call your date to make up a date, you actually get a telemarketing operator, and they will dispatch out the next girl. That is because the same ad for those girls are now in like 35 different cities at once, and obviously the girl is not there. Now, we're all over this, okay? We're deep into these. These are global sex trafficking rings violating people in our community and then sending the money back to Thailand or to China, tens and tens of millions of dollars. If you think that girl's there willingly, you have another thought to do. But what I'm going to tell you is that our community is fighting this. You have an amazing task force. We have 2 amazing sheriffs in Riverside and San Bernardino County. You have 2 excellent district attorneys that are taking this on, especially Mike Hestron is my hero, and so is Chad Bianco, our sheriff. All your chiefs of police are being trained in this, and they are dead serious about taking this on. You have Homeland Security operating right out of the Inland Empire to protect your children. You have some excellent task force and some excellent police departments, but these are tough cases to deal with. So if you know of any of these cases, you can either contact HT at riversidesheriff.org. HT stands for Human Trafficking at riversidesheriff.org, or go to 1-888-3737-888. You can be totally anonymous. By the way, this is not about deportation. If they're not documented, we aren't into that. This is about helping keep our kids safe from predators and helping rescue people who are being labor or sexually violated. Foreign national trafficking is brutal, but I'm going to tell you that gang trafficking is the greatest threat to our teenagers because they use virtual private networks and all of these dating sites. They use TikTok. They use all of your Instagram, your Facebook Messenger, and the work of Million Kids is to talk to your kids and teach them so that they don't fall prey to predators. I want to thank each and every one of you that support us financially. We are small. When you donate, it goes to the work, and we cannot do that without you. You can either write us a check, the P.O. box is at our website, or go to millionkids.org and hit that donate button. Be right back.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you, you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. So we have been talking about gang trafficking, foreign national trafficking. Now I want to talk about the difference between that and social media exploitation, sextortion, and child pornography, because they're really getting kind of murky in understanding how this works. So social media exploitation is fairly self-explanatory. Basically, our innocent kids go online, maybe a video game chat room, and think about what happens in a video game chat room. Many of these games have pornography in them. You're talking to somebody you don't know in a chat room. And now all these, a friend of mine just got PS5, and he's all excited because of all the virtual reality in it. But you're eye to eye. They can see in your house because of live streaming, and you're bonding with people you've never met. And so you do get that fantasy relationship. And so what happens in social media exploitation, whether it's a chat room, whether it's something like TikTok is very, and I like TikTok, but you need to be an adult and understand what you're doing on there. You blast out a 15-second video, now with Byte, a 6-second video, and they can see your profile, and they can see you're young and you're twerking. And so they'll send you back a text, because now you have two-way communication in social media. That is why we call it mass audience live streaming. TikTok, not only can you go out to millions of people, but they can talk back to you. And so they do. And they're like, hey, baby, you're hot. Let's go to Instagram and get me more of these videos. I'm going to make you famous. And that's how it starts. And the kid is too young to understand, or they're naive, or just as simple, they want to be loved, they want to be admired. And the next thing you know, they've sent that photo. And then the blackmail begins, or the recruitment begins, the relationship, and can go two different ways. If it's blackmail, it becomes sextortion, sex and extortion, okay? And that's blackmail with a photo. That's why we're making the documentary, so we can educate kids all over the United States that literally 8% of America's teenagers are being blackmailed. You are much more likely to end up a victim of sex trafficking, where you actually go out and meet up with your pedophile to negotiate back that photo rather than to tell mom and dad. And the next thing you know, you get raped, and they're starting to blackmail you, and then they start to set you up with prostitution dates. Now, social media exploitation can often be in an illicit relationship that goes on for months and months and months. I have known people who literally, they're not sure if they were exploited or not, because they really cared about the other person. But we're putting very young children on social media, and they want to be liked, and they want to like the man on the other end, and they don't want to get the man in trouble. And besides, they kind of really have fallen in love. I've written 2 books on this, by the way. Seduce, The Grooming of America's Teenagers is one, and Societal Shift, A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls is the other. That is the one we're making the documentary on. If you're interested in buying them, please go to millionkids.org, and I will sign them and send them to you, and you can pay for them right there. I want to just go into child pornography a minute, because we're starting to hear terms like that children are being sex trafficked, children as young as 2. Well, they are, but that's a kind of a variation of the definition of child sex trafficking. In child pornography, it can be your own child or other people's children. It can be children that you meet on the internet that get set up for sale. Many of these sex sites, they will start to give hints that they like very young children. But this is very sophisticated business, and I really want to give a shout out. I'm going to have Chief Billy Green on my show one of these days over here from Fontana, really doing a great job out of Fontana. He's like a centralized area for ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children. And so this is very sophisticated. In fact, this whole show started for me on a headline of a story that is posted on Million Kids Facebook site. International investigation leads to Longview man's child porn conviction. Now, I send out training information. If you go to millionkids.org and sign up for our newsletter, or sign up for us on Million Kids Facebook, you'll get the video that I made about this, because this case is an excellent case to educate you about how child pornography rings work. This ring actually started out of the Thailand by a man who got in Thailand. He was prosecuted, and I believe he got 121 years or something like that. It was a lot, 146 years. But the man that was arrested in the story was one of the groups of these people. You see, what happens is these people, like the man out of Thailand, will set up a child sex pornography ring, and it will have over 1 million users, and you subscribe using Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, and it goes out in the dark web. Now, lately, we've been seeing that they're finding out that law enforcement is in the dark web, and they're moving it to bulletproof hosting, which is a whole nother discussion. But what happens is you may have 1 million people paying a subscription, and you have to re-qualify every week. That means you have to violate a child and send it in, so that they have administrators. This is very, very sophisticated. And then once it's done, what they do, once the police have penetrated one of these rings, they all work together around the world, and they start to find out that the perpetrator is in Fontana or out in Coachella somewhere, and they will come out and arrest you, and you may be looking at 40 to 60 years in prison, as is the case in this particular story. But I wanted you to read this story if you get a chance, because this is a global child pornography ring where they are filming children over in the U.S., but also in Thailand, in the Philippines, and they're broadcasting that out on pay-per-view around the world. Interpol was involved, Homeland Security, the FBI, Australia, New Zealand, many cities in the United States, Bulgaria, because it was hosted in Bulgaria in one of those underground kind of offshore sites. So what I want you to know is this is horrific. Millions and millions of children around the world are being filmed in a way that they're being violated and filmed, and they'll never get it back. But I also want you to know there is hope. Law enforcement is doing a lot about this. There is major investment in technology, thanks to, by the way, to this administration, who is getting high tech because these perpetrators are high tech. And I am very, very proud of them. Unfortunately, Million Kids hadn't gotten any of that money, but that's okay. If we can alert you, if we can do prevention and intervention, if we can educate you so you can come together and support our work so we can educate more and more people, we can keep your kids safe from predators. It is absolutely urgent that we educate your children and your grandchildren about how the internet works and where naked photos go when you hit send. And that is the purpose of the documentary. It is being worked on. It's being filmed. We're on our way. Probably be the first quarter of next year when it comes out, but it's going to be a full-fledged film plus the documentary. It is beyond our wildest dreams how God has blessed this little organization. I tell you, I've seen some of the darkest days of my life the last 6 months, but God has been with us, and he's walked alongside us. He's held us together. He's given us some incredible people who have the vision to take this across the nation, and we cannot do it without you. If you're willing to assist us, I'd ask you to go to millionkids.org, MILLION, millionkids.org, and hit that donate button, or just go on there and send us a check. Or if you've got some real estate or a car or anything else we can cash in, whatever it takes, we have no pride. We need whatever we can get at this point to survive all this. We will do it to make it work. In the meantime, I'm going to give you those numbers one more time. If you want to write in a case of trafficking, go to HT@riversidesheriff.org, HT like in human trafficking, HT@riversidesheriff.org, or call 1-888-3737-888. That is the national hotline. You can do it without knowing who you are. That's called anonymously, if you could say the word. Anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you. You know, it's been an interesting last half of the year. I'm getting ready to do my reports, and it's an interesting report for the last quarter. And I tell you, we can't do this without you. Some of you are the finest folks in the whole world. You are people who care. And I care, and you care, and it sometimes feels like it's insurmountable. There are days I say to myself, what in the heck are you doing? But God comes alongside of us and He provides. Thank you to the churches that have helped us. Thank you to the corporations. And thank you to the foundations. And most of all, thank you, Mom and Dad. Give your kids a big hug this week, and I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology, coming to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hey, I want to tell you about one of my heroes, Doris Anderson. She's a realtor over at Remax Realty in Upland. Her phone number, 951-733-8899. Doris has pledged $500 from every house she closes. There's a woman who supports an important cause.